Good day, this is Miss Lilatore, and at this point, we're going to talk about the introduction to environmental science. To start off, I would like to ask this specific question: where do we live? And if we are to answer that, most likely the most common answer we're going to have is the physical surrounding that we have, which refers to the natural world. And technically, it is made up mostly of plants, animals, and the other non-living component of an ecosystem or of a surrounding, and that includes soil, air, and water. But more than that, we can also say that we are living in a social world where social institutions and or artifacts are included, and that includes science, technology, and political organizations. Now, if we are to further check, given that we have both the natural world and the social world where we both are existing, okay? Which one is important? And if you're going to check, both are essential, okay? Kumbaga, we have the physical aspect and at the same time the social aspect. And ideally, for us to live harmoniously and properly, these two aspects or world should jive together. But in reality, okay, sometimes one world goes first before the other one. For example, okay, with the social world we are living in, or in the social world rather, that we're living in, where political organizations mostly thrive, we tend to prioritize the interest of these political organizations over our natural world. And what happened is that that tends to compromise the state of our natural world. For example, okay, there are some projects given or um, projects that has been led by different political organizations deemed to produce economic benefits, but at the expense of what? At the expense of converting natural land into a commercial one. Okay? And that somehow compromises the state of the natural world that we're living in. Now, why did I started our lesson with this particular question? That is because again, this tackles the natural world where our knowledge of environmental science is essential. So at this particular lesson, we're going to understand the essence of environmental science in general in relation to the different social aspects of our lives. Okay? And like what I mentioned a while ago, trying to prioritize both aspects of the world somehow causes tension. And again, that is something that is inevitable. Okay? But again, the reason why we're trying to start learning environmental science is so that we can try to identify how can we try to lessen or mitigate those particular tensions that arises because of these two worlds. Okay? Before, we have limited ability to alter our surrounding. And that is again because of our limited knowledge of our environment. But because of environmental science and other natural sciences, okay, we get to further understand our environment. And in view of that, okay, that somehow gives us the power to extract and consume resources. Okay? Furthermore, by allowing ourselves to use this particular resources, that the production of waste comes with it as well. And in view of that, the more that we consume resources, the more we are also producing waste. And if we continue to go this way without managing the way we produce waste out of the things that we are consuming, Okay? Modification of our world or of the natural world in particular continues. And furthermore, that somehow threatens what? The existence of different living organisms that is part of the normal environment. Now, what can we do about it? Obviously, we are the ones consuming resources and producing waste at the same time. So for us to somehow mitigate the problem we're trying to create and to produce a solution to solve it, we need to further understand how our world works. Okay? And what we're doing to it, and at the same time, what we can do to protect and improve it. Thus, again, the importance of studying environmental science. According to Barbara Ward, okay, for an increasing number of environmental issues, the difficulty is actually not to identify the remedies. Okay? Remedies are now well understood. The problem is that how to make these remedies socially, economically, and politically acceptable. Sabi nila, okay, global warming, for example, has been a globally known environmental dilemma. Okay, parang elementary pa lang ako, usap-usapan na ang ozone layer ay malaki na ang butas and that contributes to global warming, further resulting into climate change. Eh, paano pa kaya ngayon na I'm already working, no? And that comes with what? With technological advancement at the same time. So, ibig sabihin, kung nung dati, no, we already have this particular problem, parang imposible naman na hindi na natin siya or hindi natin siya kayang gawan ng solusyon given that we have advanced technology nowadays. So, how come we weren't able to address these particular problems? Now, that is where Barbara Ward's idea comes in. Alam natin yung sagot sa problema. Alam din natin kung ano yung problema natin at the first place. So, for example, yung sinabi ko nga na global warming or climate change, we know what is that and what our problem is. We know the solution as well. Like, for example, we should come up with sustainable ways on how to manage our waste so that we can lessen our contribution when it comes to global warming, right? That may lead to climate change. But why do we still have these particular problems? That is because dahil ba hindi natin alam yung sagot? No. Sagot sa problema? No. We know the answer, but we cannot perform it properly because our solution is not socially and economically and most importantly politically acceptable. Ma'am, anong ibig sabihin nun? Okay? We know that one way to mitigate and manage our waste is to avoid using plastic, right? Because it's non-biodegradable most of the time and it will take thousands of years before it degrades. So it's one major environmental hazard, if I may identify it that way. But why are we still using plastic uh, packaging, for example? That is because if we stop using plastic, the plastic manufacturing industry will be economically impacted. Okay? Malulugi yung mga kumpanya na gumagawa ng plastic. Another thing is that maraming tao na tatrabaho sa um, manufacturing ng plastic ang madidisplace at mawawalan ng trabaho. And that's another social dilemma. Okay? And sometimes, if we will be having economic and social concerns because of shutting down some industries, it can also have a potential political concern. So I hope you get what I mean. The idea here is actually the reason why we have this ongoing, okay, environmental problem is not because we do not know what to do. We know the problem and we know the answer to this problem. But the major concern actually is we should make these solutions socially, economically, and politically acceptable. And I'm not going to name names and drop names of certain like personalities or key players in these particular industries here in the Philippines, but I hope you get what I mean, right? Alam natin yung problema natin and alam natin yung sagot sa problema natin. But what is more important right now for us to really apply the answer or the solutions to these problems is to make them socially, economically, and politically acceptable. And that is according to Barbara Ward. And that's the reason as well why you're taking this particular subject, no? For you to understand na, okay, kaya naman pala meron tayong ongoing problems sa ating environment. Okay, na up until right now seems to be very very difficult to solve. That is because we need to make our solutions or yes, our answers to these problems politically, socially, and economically acceptable. And yun yung pinakamahirap na challenge kasi katulad ng sinabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, most of the time mas nananaig yung ating economic benefit more than the environmental benefit, right? Um, it's actually like as if we are weighing things. Mas pipiliin mo ba na magkaroon ka ng business so that you can provide jobs for people that are really in need of jobs so that they can live? Or mas pipiliin mo yung pagpe-preserve ng isang lugar, okay, for its environmental benefit, okay? That's actually not a very easy task to do. Okay? Not that I'm saying na kailangan nating piliin lagi yung environment or lagi nating dapat piliin yung best interest of the people. We should find ways on how to make both, no, um, our priority. And it's actually where we really need more idea of, no, more knowledge of. And again, that's one of the reasons why you're taking this particular subject. In the context of what I've given a while ago, yung mga susunod na slides, yun yung pinag-uusapan or yung focus niya. For example, foresters know how to plant trees. Of course, that's their job. That's their profession, right? But they do not know how to establish conditions under which villagers in developing countries can manage plantations for themselves. No, it's it's like a collaboration of different parts of a society, not just one segment. Okay. Another thing is that engineers know how to control pollution, but they do not know how to persuade factories to install necessary equipment. Of course, sometimes one of their job is to double check, no, yung if these particular factories are like following standards, but most of the time hindi naman, lalo na kapag chine-check yung iba't ibang mga industries, they are just simply, alam mo yun, parang they're just simply installing certain things within their factories just for the sake of them passing the quality assurance, kumbaga. But you really do not know whether they practice it or not, right? City planners know how to design urban areas, but they do not know how to make them affordable so that the poorest members of the society can also avail them. So again, most of the time, okay, we know the problem, we know the answer to the problem, but we do not know how to make them. socially, politically, and economically acceptable. And dun tayo nagkakaroon ng concern. The solutions to these problems increasingly involve human social system as well as natural science. Kaya, nandito tayo to talk about environmental science. Now, there are some criteria for environmental literacy, and that includes, again, you taking up this subject, environmental science. So, ano nga ba yung mga criteria when it comes to being an environmental literate? Okay? Una, you should be able to have an understanding of the current environmental issues. Hindi lang to laging global warming. Hindi lang to laging plastic problems. Hindi lang to laging problema sa basura or problema sa different natural disasters. No, you should really know what makes up our surrounding, our environment, for us to fully understand why we should give importance to it, and at the same time, how can we preserve it, okay, if not protect it from natural phenomena. Another one is the ability to use analytical and problem-solving skills on environmental issues. Okay, hindi lang tayo medyo pamilyar, no? Pero when it comes to the field of environmental science, a lot of researches are being conducted, okay, para mas mapagyaman pa yung ating idea of the environment itself. Another criteria is the knowledge of the natural systems and ecological concepts. And that's the reason why, while you're taking this particular subject, you will be encountering different concepts related to natural systems and ecological concepts. Okay? Another criteria is actually to contribute to the National Environmental Education Advancement Project. Okay? And lastly, to have an awareness and appreciation of the natural and built environment. Again, it's not always trying, or we're not always trying to preserve the natural environment that we have whenever we talk about environmental science. But at the same time, those man-made ones, or the built environment na tinatawag natin. Okay? So, let's talk about science and environment. If we are to define science, we all know that it comes from a Latin term or word, scientia, which means knowing. Okay? And this particular word also entails that whenever we deal with science, regardless of the field, there's always this process of producing knowledge. Okay? Paano nga ba siya nakakapag-produce ng knowledge? That is by making precise observation of natural phenomena. Okay? You are making precise, not accurate. Okay? Hindi naman natin sinasabing I hope at this point everyone is quite familiar with the difference between precision and accuracy. Okay? As long as you're getting the same result, okay, that's precision. Okay? So, science produces knowledge, okay, by making precise observation of the natural phenomena happening within our environment. And that is where, by observing those, that's where we're able to formulate what? Reasonable theories that is going to explain those observations. Okay? The world, I'm sorry, but another thing is that whenever we talk about science, okay, we're always in the context of the world is knowable, meaning we can learn our environment, okay? We can further know, we can study our environment. Kaya we are trying to study science, okay? We can observe things in our environment, we can try to formulate theories out of our observations using our senses. Okay? Mamaya pag-usapan natin yung concept ng scientific method. Okay? And that makes the world knowable. Okay? We can learn about how things work through careful empirical study and logical analysis. Now, the main goal of science is to help us find practical solutions for many problems. Okay? Again, the main goal of science is to help us find practical solutions for many problems. And I don't think I need to further elaborate it because it's quite self-explanatory naman. Okay? By knowing science, um, our tendency to rely on emotional reactions and unexamined assumptions are is being reduced. Okay? Ibig sabihin, mas hindi na tayo nagre-rely sa emotions natin or unexamined assumptions whenever we make decisions if we know what science is. Okay? Parang katulad lang dati, no? During the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages, no? Dahil hindi pa naman tayo as knowledgeable of science as today, during that time, ano nangyayari? We tend to just simply follow kung ano yung sinasabing tama ng mga religious authority natin. Like, halimbawa, yung mga leader ng church during the Middle Ages. Okay? Dahil sila yung leader natin during that time, we always perceive them to be the ones who know things better. Okay? Even if, in fact, they are themselves not fully aware of a lot of things. Kasi nga, again, science during that time is not as advanced as today. Okay? Um, Whenever they share things, kasi nga sabi natin, during the Middle Ages, they are the ones in authority, so we just simply follow them. Diyan papasok, no, if you're going to recall, before that time actually, no, during the ancient period, diyan papasok yung concept ng example, no, is heliocentric and geocentric, no, concept of Ptolemy and Copernicus, right? Where ang una nilang pinaniniwalaan and is supported by the church during that time is yung geocentric um, idea that Earth is the center of the solar system. Pero further observation and understanding through the help of Nicholas Copernicus proves that the Earth is actually just one of the planets that revolves around the sun, which is the center of the solar system, which is actually the ones we're following today. So that heliocentric concept is not accepted by the society during the time because the geocentric one is the one followed and believed by the church. So that's one thing. Okay? That's one thing. As we know science and as we study things, we get to learn more about our environment. And knowledge is a dynamic thing. Science is dynamic. It changes. Okay? It may negate certain concepts, but just that it negating those concepts simply corrects it, not technically, you know, erase it or what. I hope you get what I mean, no? So, um, during the time, explanations cannot be tested independently and objectively kasi nga, again, they solely depend on our cultural traditions and the religious authorities during the time. Kaya nga we really need to study science so that we can further understand things. Okay? We used to follow them because of custom, of politics, or because theology say so. Okay? We follow science. We study science because science search for testable evidences. Okay? Now, we're done talking about science. Let's talk about environment. Kasi nga environmental science yung subject ninyo, no? So, actually, environment comes from the French word enviro. I'm not quite sure if this is like the proper pronunciation. Kasi nga French ito. So, as long as we follow the correct spelling, then we won't have any problems with it. With the pronunciation, let's leave it sa mga French. people. Okay? So this comes from the word environner. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it in French, which means encircle or surround. Okay? So everything that surrounds us is our environment. Okay? This can also refer to the circumstances and the conditions that surround an organism or group of organisms. Okay? In a wider or bigger sense, environment is the social and the cultural conditions that affect an individual or a community. So if we are going to combine these two together, environmental science is a systematic study of our environment and our place in it. Okay? It's not just simply the environment that surrounds us, but our role in that specific environment. Okay? So we combine environment and science. So technically, it's an interdisciplinary field. You may encounter concepts of biology, chemistry, geography, agriculture, and other sciences in this particular field. Okay? And mostly, environmental scientists incorporates knowledge of social organization, politics, and humanities in this particular subject. Kaya, once you uh, go through the different topics of this subject, you will encounter human ecology, okay, or population ecology. That's one part of this. Kasi nga, again, it's interdisciplinary and it incorporates knowledge of different social organizations. Okay? Another thing that we should take note of when it comes to talking about environmental science is it's inclusive and at the same time holistic. Ibig sabihin, again, it's a wide, broad field of science that includes a lot of concepts, no? From different fields, mostly natural sciences. Another thing is that this subject is mission-oriented. Ibig sabihin po, meron tayong goal dito. Okay? And we'll be banking on the idea of we have responsibility to get involved and to try to do something about the problems that we have created, especially kung ang concern natin ay yung environment. Kasi again, at the end of the day, we are the one who are using our environment, who are consuming resources from our environment and producing waste that affects our environment one way or another. Okay? Our environment affects us and we affect our environment. So we should be the one responsible to do something about the problems we're creating with it. Okay? So like what I mentioned a while ago, we're going to talk about scientific method. Though I believe every one of us is quite familiar with this one already kasi malamang napag-usapan nyo na yan nung high school kayo. So it's just a very, very quick review of what scientific method is and the steps of scientific method. So again, ano nga ba yung scientific method? Dahil nga science, main goal is to seek truth, okay? Laging pag sinabi nating science, di ba, ang naiisip nating word is factual, right? So, kasi nga, we're trying to seek truth in this particular field, we are trying to reach what? High probabilities that an idea is correct within the framework of what? Observation and testing. So that is where scientific method is involved. Okay? Sa observation and testing so that we can prove that something is correct or not. Okay? So, there are rules for us to know what truth is when it comes to a certain concept or not. Okay? Hindi pwedeng mag-observe lang tayo. Okay? Observation or simple observation is not enough. Sometimes, we try to approach problems and approach certain concepts to know whether they are true or not by getting into two methods. So what are those two methods? It's either we follow the inductive or the deductive reasoning. So what is the difference between the two? So Right now, you're seeing a slide in here that shows the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning. So I want you to pause for a while and try to read the difference between the two before we try to compare them. Okay? So I hope at this point you're able to check on the difference between the two already. So pag sinabi nating deductive, sabi dito, it's drawing specific conclusions from some larger assumptions. Ang lagi nyo lang tandaan dyan, pag deductive, it's starting from general concept to specific. Deductive, pag nagde-deduct ka, di ba nagbabawas ka? So, from general, papuntang specific. Parang funnel. Alam niyo yung funnel, embudo. So, from yung wide general topic or concept, ititrim down mo siya papunta sa specific one. From the broad to a more specific statement so that you can come up with a general conclusion. And usually, when you use deductive reasoning, it leads to predictions that is described in the form of if, then. Okay? Parang, if your hypothesis is following the deductive reasoning, your hypothesis most likely will look like if something happens, then the result will be like this. Okay? Parang ganun siya. So, lagi nyo tandaan, pag deductive, you are deducting from general, broad, to specific. If it's inductive, it's the other way around. It's the opposite. So, you're starting from a conclusion, a specific one, then you are trying to build it up to go into the general concept. So, parang inverted funnel naman siya. Nakabaliktad na imbudo from the specific details papunta sa general. Okay? Your observations here of a specific event, okay, leads to the formulation of a general statement. So most likely, your hypothesis here, if you're following the inductive reasoning approach, is not involving if-then statement. Okay, it's not making use of if-then statement. So to make it more easier to recall, yun lang naman yung lagi niyong tandaan, no? Ako naman personally, if I'm talking or if I'm thinking of deductive and inductive reasoning, yun nga, imbudo lang din naman yung iniisip ko. It's the funnel itself. I think sa English subject, pinag-uusapan din tong funneling na tinatawag. Basta pag deductive, you are deducting things, nagbabawas ka. So, from general to specific. It's like, yun nga, yung funnel. Pag inductive, it's the opposite. So, from specific, papuntang general. Kung sa pagtuturo ng subject or ng topic, okay, let's say ang topic ninyo ay reproductive system, which is the one of the most favorite, no, organ system of everyone to talk about. Okay? Pag nagtuturo ka ng reproductive system following the deductive reasoning, okay, ibig sabihin, magsisimula ka munang magturo ng different organ systems of the human being. Yung 11 organ system or 12 organ system. Tapos, uunti-untiin mo yun hanggang makapunta ka na sa reproductive system. Tapos, pag nasa reproductive system ka na, pag-uusapan nyo na yung different parts of the reproductive system. Parts and function. Okay? Pag inductive naman, it's the opposite. You're going to start with the different parts and function of the reproductive system hanggang makumpleto mo na sila lahat. Tapos, saka mo na siya i-relate sa iba't ibang organ system of the body. So, see, that's two approach. Okay? So, another thing, or this particular slide in here naman po, shows some examples, okay, of deductive and inductive reasoning. I don't think I need to further check on the following because I've already given you some examples. So, let's talk about the scientific method, okay? generally, scientific method, it's a logical sequence. So, ibig sabihin, it's a step-by-step process. Okay? Pag step by step, ibig sabihin, may order, may pattern. Dapat mauna yung 1, followed by 2, then next yung 3. Hindi pwedeng mauna yung 3, followed by 1, tapos 2. Hindi pwedeng ganun. Okay? So, it's a logical sequence. You start with the very first step, and that is most likely what? Identify the problem. Right? Paano ka magsosolve ng problema kung hindi mo alam yung problema mo? Right? As simple as that. Okay? So it's a logical sequence of thought process and activities that is aimed at what? Gathering information. And once you gather information, you test your idea. Okay? So these are the different steps of the scientific method. Okay. So first, again, like what I mentioned a while ago, you have to state your problem or define your problem. Most of the time, it comes in the question format. Then, once you're done with that, you formulate hypothesis. So, what is a hypothesis? If we are to check, a hypothesis is also commonly known as what? As an educated guess. Lamang, pwede pala yun, yung manghuhula ka pero educated. Manghuhula ka pero parang somehow may basihan. Yes. Okay? Educated guess in a sense that you are guessing not because you're simply guessing or you're guessing out of nowhere. You're guessing based on your previous experience. Okay? Kaya siya naging educated kasi binase mo siya doon sa mga dati mong experience. Okay? Now, once you come up with your hypothesis, another thing to recall or to take note of is that hypothesis is actually like a working answer to your problem. Okay? It's an educated guess of what is the solution doon sa problema na in-identify mo sa number 1. Okay? And then number 3 is you collect data. Ma'am, paano ko i-identify kung anong data yung i-collect ko? Of course, you are going to base it saan? Doon sa hypothesis mo. Kasi parang yun yung magiging anchor or yung guide mo. Okay? Your hypothesis is the one who's going to dictate what type of data you should be collecting para ma-prove mo na yun talaga yung sagot doon sa problem. Okay? So that's one thing. They are interconnected with one another. Then afterwards, once you're done getting data or collecting data, ano nang gagawin mo? You're going to test your hypothesis based on the data that you've collected. Dito na papasok yung experimentation na tinatawag. Okay? Nung nagkanda kayo ng thesis ninyo, most likely, this is past the RRL already. This is already the experimentation process. Okay? Testing the hypothesis. And once you're done testing, anong gagawin mo? Syempre, you're going to organize the result and discuss it and try to relate it sa hypothesis mo. And depending on the hypothesis, you're going to come up with your conclusion or generalization. Are you going to accept your hypothesis or are you going to reject your hypothesis? Okay? So, ito yung mga specific examples or specific lang naman, explanations doon sa sinabi ko na rin kanina about scientific method. Again, formulating hypothesis, it's actually like the temporary working explanation or tentative solution you're giving your problem. Pagka data collection din, mostly it's either quantitative data or qualitative data yung ating kinukuha dito. And for testing hypothesis, no? Another thing that we should take note of is the concept of reliability and validity. Pag sinabi natin reliability, okay, like how reliable is your hypothesis or your data or how valid is your data, okay? Yung difference nila is that magiging reliable yung result ng iyong experimentation or yung hypothesis mo kung it is consistent, okay, all throughout the conduct of the experiment or the research. And it can be repeated, okay? Most of the time, you can say that a data, okay, or a result is more reliable if you make use of measuring instrument, okay, or procedure. Kasi may mga sukat yan. Pag may mga sukat, ibig sabihin, kaya mong i-replicate, kaya mong i-follow. Parang ano lang din, like yung sa recipe ng pagluto ng isang pagkain, right? Whenever we follow, we can replicate how to cook certain food just by following yung mga measurements na nandun sa recipe itself. So, that's one thing to take note of no when it comes to reliability. If it is something that can be consistently repeated, okay, and involves measurement, then its reliability is high or good. On the other hand, when we say valid, okay, most of the time it is related with the success at measuring what is set out to be measured. Okay? Kapag na-meet niya, okay, yung ating goal sa umpisa, okay, if it's able to answer the working problem, then it is valid. If it's not able to answer the problem, then it is invalid. Okay? So, yung sa conclusion, na-mention ko na nga yun kanina, it's either they are accepted or rejected. Now, whenever we talk about scientific method, most of the time, meron ding concept about scientific law and scientific theory. When can we say that the product produced by a scientific method can be passed as a scientific law or a scientific theory? So always remember, if it describes what happens, that most likely can be considered a scientific law. And most of the time, hindi lang pwedeng dapat describe what happened, but it is also proved through mathematical equations. Okay? That's scientific law. If it explains why or how things happen, then that is when it comes as scientific theory. Most of the time, kay scientific theory, yan yung kumbaga mas mababang level, kumbaga, in comparison with scientific law. If scientific theory comes first muna, okay, if it's scientific theory can be used to describe what happens and can be proven through mathematical equations, then that's the time it can be converted into scientific law. Okay? So it's example of additional things to take note of when it comes to scientific theory and law are the following. First, for theory, experimental evidences continue to support yung known hypothesis of certain concept. If it's law, more and more evidence comes in that it is consistent with a given theory, and the explanation may become virtually irrefutable. Some examples of scientific law involves law of gravity and mostly yung mga theory sa biology yan. Yung law naman usually nasa physics. No? So actually that ends our lesson about the introduction to environmental science, and I hope somehow you get to learn and review some things about it. Once again, this is Ms. De La Torre, and thank you very much for listening. Bye, everyone.